All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here. Sorry, I had to get a couple things put together here. Got multiple places that I'm broadcasting right now, so just want to get all that up and running. I believe we should be good, so looks like everything is working. So also my OBS updated, so everything looks different. A little surprising this morning. But I hope you guys are all doing well. July 13th, it's Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about CPI and some other numbers that have been coming out today. So if you guys are new to me, have any questions, come over here to profitpilot.com, and that is where you guys can kind of learn a little bit more about me, and then trading rooms, any other services that I offer in classes and stuff like that. So if we come over here, one of the things that I've kind of been talking about, maybe about this week, is that we might be getting into an area where dips are buyable, and it's going to be messy and it's going to be choppy, but the market might kind of be done going down for now. So I know today, obviously, we had the CPI numbers come out. They're still hot. They were expecting 8.8%, but it was 9.1%, so definitely hot and growing. So the other thing to kind of think about is that investors, traders, hedge funds, investment firms, it seems as though they might have positioned themselves for inflation to be here, right? It's kind of like not a surprise anymore. We've been dealing with this for a while. They know that it just takes a while to go away, and that there might be other factors out there that are either going to be surprises or things that they need to factor in. Most of that involves recession, GDP growth, earnings. We're going to be seeing a lot of questions kind of coming out about earnings with companies and how they're doing. Like I heard Delta Airlines, they got crunched. I think Unity getting downgraded, they got crunched. So we're seeing quite a bit of that. And as far as today, yesterday we did see a little bit of a sell-off into the close, but from a technical standpoint, and what I've been working with the Moxie subscribers about, is that, we did have price running into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. But we have to balance that with what we're also seeing on the hourly chart of price below the hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator still above zero. Kind of like what we saw back here, price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero. This is technically trampoline type stuff. What price should not be below the 50 if the Moxie indicator is above zero. And you guys can see that I've got a bit of a trend line here, and so far it's holding. But this trend line, I've actually had this trend line, if you look over here on the daily chart, I've had this trend line drawn for quite a while. I think it was basically drawn since that was developed. So what was that, right around end of May? So I've had this upper trend line, and I just decided to kind of keep it on for a while. And then as I saw this lower area start building, I just duplicated this trend line and I moved it down to here, and it fit. I was like, oh, kind of interesting. Okay. And then so as we watched price getting rejected by the hourly 200 earlier this week, then I said, they might be going to this area. Let's see what happens and see if it just blows right through it or if it actually starts to hang out there a little bit. And for now, it seems like it's going to generally hold it. We are definitely not out of the woods yet. And what I've been communicating to other traders and subscribers out there is that this is just going to be a very messy and difficult market because of the nature of what we're in, basically a bear flag. Now, the question is this bear flag going to, keep going like this and eventually go sideways and then resolve to the downside? It's a possibility. Or are we going to actually see this kind of hammer something out a little bit and actually start getting some footing, and maybe it's going to go up to, maybe the previous resistance area. We can see right here, here, and here, which is something around $415. Just an idea, okay? And with the print, we had the market move down fairly significantly today. Good gap down, all that kind of stuff. We are technically oversold, but if it really got going, you can see it will ride that third ATR for quite some time. But for today, we're seeing that this thing has kind of turned around a little bit. Let me actually pull up the internals. Not too terrible. If you kind of zoom in here, they are recovering a little bit and just not super terrible. So considering that we had the high inflation numbers and considering that the market gapped down, we are starting to see the advanced decline of stocks start to kind of work its way back up. And at least the order flow, the advanced decline order flow went from negative, but not too negative, to actually starting to come back up again. So we kind of have to look at this and say, well, the downside might be getting a little bit tired, at least for the near moment. As I said earlier, if this turns out to be a bear flag like this, where it just kind of comes up a while and then we do a rollover again, sure, that's a possibility too. But for right now, it seems to me that the short side is a little bit challenging, at least for the indexes, and having, they're just kind of not ready to just puke and go down. So that's something I'm going to be watching for. Again, I'm kind of thinking that we might be in a little bit of some messiness, because you can see here that last week, when we had price come down below the hourly 50 into that trend line, it chopped around quite a bit, right? So lots of noise in through here. The Moxie indicator did eventually start to turn back up, but we keep running into some resistance overhead while we do find some support down below. So we're oscillating, we're in a range, we're in kind of some stuff like this, and it's probably not going to be the most fun thing, and it's going to be difficult and challenging. So welcome to what the market is right now. Beyond that, that's about all I can say for that view. And if we look at the lower time frames, we had price kind of bounce around a little, gap down, rallied back up to say the mean or some moving average, came back down, and then kind of did a double bottom, and we got some buying. So if this is going to generally start working its way back to the upside, well, hey, it's not falling apart. And I think that's something to consider and look at this. And as I said, I don't expect it to be super easy or clean, but it is not going down. And it seems to me like it's trying to move back up to the upside. Let me kind of move around the market and show you guys a couple things. The ARK ETF is something I've been kind of watching. I think it's a decent conglomerate of those very, very beat up names. I know we could be laughing at this a little bit, but I think that without having to just pick stock after stock, it's a good thing that we could be looking at this and say, hey, well, it's not been going down for several weeks. Like, it's stopped going down, even though the market went down and has been chopping around. I think that's something that we should look into and consider, because we have been seeing some stocks out there putting in these bases and generally trending sideways to up, and some of them have kind of really exploded. We've had some decent moves to the upside. It almost feels like for every one that we've had moving up, we've definitely had some continuing sideways and going down, but we are making progress right here of price trying to get over the daily 50. It's trying to turn the daily 50. We have the 8 over the 21, and the Moxie indicator is pretty high. And even on the hourly chart, we have the hourly 200 that was in a downtrend, but now it's flat and could start moving up. And we do at least have the 50 over the 200. So again, making progress, not the easiest thing in the world to work with, but at least it's making progress to the upside. And that's why I'm saying, well, we need to be watching out there and see if we're on the right side of the trades on these things. The Moxie indicator in through here has been staying over zero, so that's something to consider and watch. That would make this a trampoline move, so price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero is a trampoline move. And then we're doing it again right here, where price dipped below the 50 and the Moxie indicator stayed above zero. And if we look closely, and I was calling this out to the Moxie group, that the gap down this morning, the overnight, I was like, wow, this actually isn't that far down. I said, let's keep an eye on this. We won't really know until the market opens what happens, but you can see we got price come down, double bottom, and on the hourly 200, and you could, I don't know, generally maybe call that around the daily 50, and it got bought back up so far. Now, the Moxie indicator is a little bit tough to read. It has been spread, which isn't the strongest, but there can be moves, but then it gets sold back into, so I'm just noting that. However, if we do also look at price is back over the 15-minute 50, just like it was here. So kind of just trying to pay attention to that. And the thing that might carry this to the upside, if this works, is the trampoline move here on the hourly chart, and then also just some moving average support here on the daily chart. So that's one thing I'm looking at. Now, another one, some of the things that I've talked about on the newsletters that I have, video newsletters out there, and ZM. And remember, because this market does not exactly have a trend, Stocks can go in any direction that they want. We have some longs, we have some shorts, we have chop, we have everything that we could possibly imagine. And if we come over here, and let me show you the weekly time frame. I think I covered this earlier in the week in the free trading room. And I was saying that for ZM, I got these trend lines on here. And I said, well, it has been up here in this upper area of these trend lines. But I said, I would not be surprised to see this one move down, mostly because it is at these upper trend lines. And if we look at the weekly chart, it's running into the 21 EMA, which is typically the arch of the foot. So I said that one I would expect to move back down into retest the low areas and then see where it goes. And you can see here it's actually at this lower trend line. So if you like Zoom, if you want to be trading Zoom, something to watch out for. I don't see anything to do with it yet, but as far as the narrative that I was giving as far as Zoom and looking for a pullback and that lower trend line, well, that's working out. Another one that I was talking about was ZS. And ZS is just kind of not doing anything. So in this case, we've got those trend lines, and it has neither held the trend line, nor has it moved up or held any other kind of moving average. So this one's like, mostly just chopping sideways. And that's kind of what I'm saying is that with these tickers out here, we're seeing something kind of all over the place. Now, maybe what we could do is kind of, let me activate that, and it would be interesting to then maybe move that down like that and say, well, is that the trend line? And then we can take a look at that, as time goes on. So something to watch. That's why trend lines are like, well, you just kind of play around with them until they work out for you and help give you a little bit of guidance. All right, so ZS, and then CRWD, Crowdstrike was another one that was kind of mentioned in the Moxie room today. And what they were looking at was that price was coming down to the daily 50. It's a possibility. Now, it's been a messy one. And we can see kind of if we look at trend lines again, it's been generally holding that lower trend line. So there's something to keep in mind. Kind of holding that lower trend line, kind of on the daily 50. And if we look at the weekly chart, we could be doing an offshoot. There's the leg, there's the heel, there's the arch of the foot, and we're looking for price to kind of test the ball of the foot. And if that holds, then we could see price move up for however far it wants to go. Now, I'm not exactly inclined to really want to trade this stock, mostly because it has been very messy, chop, 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 oscillating back and forth. But if that is your cup of tea and you guys like channel trading like this, then, it's a channel trader's heaven. Just trade the highs to the lows, the highs to the lows. And, if this market doesn't want to go down and wants to start moving up, and something like this, CrowdStrike, is at that lower channel, then maybe it starts turning back up to the upside. But in order to do that, other than just buying at the lower trend line, I would really like to see the 15-minute time frame turn around, something to that extent. So those are some names to be looking at, to consider. Gosh, we've got things just all over the place. And top spin, so /ZN to put. I'm not so sure about that. I would look at this and say it looks to me like it's trying to move up. Also, yeah, anytime you guys want to be asking questions about tickers, let me know which direction you want to go, because again, this market is all over the place. So I wouldn't be looking short on this. It seems to me like it's trying to get past the daily 50. The 8 is over the 21. The Moxie indicator is above 0. And we have a potential trampoline move here. And you can see that, yes, there was a drop, but it got bought back up. So I would mostly say careful. It's chop. But I'd also say that it looks like it's not trying to go down, at least not for right now. All right, so Ambus, GDX, huh? Very long buy. Ooh, I haven't really been watching the gold space, mostly because it's been falling off a cliff or throwing itself over the edge. There hasn't been much for me to really see or pinpoint yet, but I see what you're looking at. Let me actually point out a couple things that we can kind of see real quick. If we look at GDX, you could say that, well, it is here at the lower third ATR for the weekly time frame. Okay, might be an area to bounce, right? Kind of see that lower third ATR, lower third ATR, stuff like that. You can even see here, lower third ATR. So it is getting to a point where it's pretty extended to the downside and kind of running into an area where it's probably going to either stop going down or bounce or something like that. Now, if it's going to actually have an up move, let's keep looking around at that. And I think the real question is going to be, is this just going to be a bounce and a downtrend, or could it be the beginning of something else kind of like that? Is it going to be like that? And if it is, those of you guys who know my patterns and how I trade and stuff, you know there's always the first move versus the second move, right? You guys see the elf shoe? And this is historical. This is back 2018. So I'm just showing you some charts and how this thing works. But you guys see that? Leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. There's your elf toe. Works pretty nicely, doesn't it? So if currently we're more in this situation where we're at the lows and we're going to start moving up, I would watch for the first move from the low to the high, probably to about the 21 EMA, and then you look for the pullback, ball of the foot, and then you look and try it again. So let's go where we are currently and see what if any of that looks like it. So yeah, I would kind of say the same thing. It looks like price is getting oversold. You can see that there's a big gap here between price and the EMA. So if for nothing else, you get price to just basically get sucked right back up. You know, nature abhors a vacuum, and well, there's a vacuum. There's a gap between price and the EMA, also while sitting on the lower third ATR. So yes, in this view, there appear to be reasons for price to kind of move back up to at least the 8 EMA and maybe eventually to the 21 EMA, wherever that ends up at the time. So there's kind of that. And then let me bring it over to, here we go, the daily and the hourly and the 15. Let me actually zoom out a little bit more on the 15 because I saw some stuff. All right, on the daily, not much to see here other than Sam's high-low and the stochastic are all down at the lows. They're in the oversold region. I don't really see anything with the Moxie indicator. The only thing I could potentially point out is, and this is why I have stair steps with the Moxie indicator, so you could see that the 2 stair steps, they've actually gone level. So the next thing would be for it to actually start moving up and go green. Yes, it's still negative, but that means it's green, or if it goes green, that means it's not going down anymore, and that would just be a very, very small indication. Not much to work with there. And then you can see here, third ATR, so it got a little bit oversold, trying to work its way back up. And at least on this term, there would be an opportunity maybe for like this to price get back up to maybe the daily 21 if we start seeing some stuff on the lower time frames. Then we kind of work our way to lower time frames. Double bottom, right? Okay, that might be something. Positive divergence, yeah, a little bit. And then here on the 15, I've been noticing price going down, Moxie indicator moving up, double bottom, Moxie indicator continues to move up, and we're having a decent day. Now, if this is going to work out to the long side, this is like the cutting edge of that. And I'm not sure how keen or how interested I personally would be in trying to trade this, but if this is your deal and that's what you like, we are starting to see indications of price wanting to move to the upside. And just remember, a double bottom only works when it works. Otherwise, it's a resting area until price goes lower. Does that make sense where you see that? And so what you can see is like this, double bottom, right? Well, it broke lower. Double bottom, right? Well, it broke lower. So we have another double bottom, and if that's going to be bullish, you just need to verify that it's going to hold and actually start working its way back up. And generally speaking, the way I do that is I look at the lower time frames and I want to see price engage with uptrending moving averages. And we've only just started seeing that today. And we haven't even confirmed that it's going to engage with these moving averages. Okay, so you can see here, failed, failed, failed. Now, if it's going to go long, you're going to have to see if it can actually hold it. So it's just it's a pretty simple, straightforward, does it work, does it not work type thing. All right, then thoughts, yeah, rut. Okay, so let's look at the IWM. I just like to look at that better. Yeah, obviously chop. Yep. Yeah, is it chop or definitely down? Well, kind of the same read that I had with the S&P in general is, it seems to me like it's coming into some support. Like if you look here at the, let me just draw a line like that. So if we look at the weekly time frame, you can see there's a level, there was a gap, and here we are again. So it seems to me like it's trying to slow its descent and trying to hammer out a bottom, and it might be starting to kind of look for a bounce. Oftentimes when things get too oversold, say on these time frames, we notice that price will bounce up to the 21 EMA. So this has been something that I've been kind of targeting, S&P, NASDAQ, IWM. If this low hammers itself out and actually can start moving up, I would kind of be looking for the indices to move up to the 21 EMA on the weekly time frame. That's something I'm talking about, trying to see if that's going to happen. It's a little bit of an idea and a target, but of course we need to make sure that actually happens. So let me come back over here. If we look at the daily and if we look at the hourly, it's going to be pretty much the same story as I said with the S&P earlier. You know, we've got 50, 200, 50. Let me draw it right there. We've got a 50, 250, and both times they've been trampoline moves, right? So this is why I'm kind of keeping an eye on this. And as I said, today with the move down, CPI, it's like people understand this is here to stay. Maybe it's all been factored in. Prices have already been walked down. Valuations have been rewritten, all that kind of stuff. And we just know that interest rates are going up and we know inflation's here for a while. Now, the next thing, as I said, earnings and GDP. And it seems to me that if this chopping around continues like this, the distance between that 8 and 21 keep getting narrower and narrower to where if price wants to go up, it can, because then the 8 can cross over the 21. So this is kind of like what I'm looking for to see if price is going to start moving up, like if the markets are going to start moving up. These are the things that I need to see and kind of the story that we're working with. We could also potentially see that there's maybe a little bit of positive divergence. Nothing I can really work with here on the 15-minute time frame. And then I guess if we look real closely, we might be getting a double bottom right there. It might be an elf shoe. So leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot, maybe we start getting a little bit of an elf shoe later today. So we're still just at the cutting edge of any of this, working out to the upside and seeing how things might pan out. So that's what we got there. And then kind of talk about the UVXY. And yesterday I was in the free trading room, which I see that there are quite a few people in there too. And I said, well, it's going to be a mixed bag. We could do both. We could do two things. Number one, we had a trampoline move here on the 15-minute time frame, which is priced below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. So it's a bullish situation. There was a double bottom right there, and you could see kind of a elf shoe situation right there. And, I said that last time we had price just shoot up out of nowhere. I mean, it just cranked and went and went and went. And I said, well, we could always do the same thing here. But if it was a bearish thing, like if the UVXY was going to keep going down, well, then I would say it is trying to move up across a downtrending hourly 50. And I don't really see any divergence here on the Moxie indicator. So it was a mixed bag. I was like, well, I could see some up, I could see some down, and maybe we get both. Maybe we get up and then down. And right now it looks like we're getting more like that. Now going forward, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to keep watching. Is price going to continue to hold the 15-minute 50? Is the Moxie indicator going to stay above 0? Is this 8 over the 21 going to continue to be bullish? And can price get over the hourly 50 and keep making some progress? So yeah, it's a lot of stuff to be kind of watching right now because there's not too much movement. There's at least recovery, but there's definitely a potential for things to go kind of either way. So I know it's not the clearest of answers for a lot of this stuff, but welcome to the market. I think we're just getting a lot of chop and a lot of chaos. Yeah, so 770, that's what I was just running through with you. So hopefully you're seeing that. But, just not a whole much. I would like to think that this is going to be moving down, but we need to keep watching and seeing if the lower timeframes are going to hold bullish, and we got to see if price wants to continue to break over the hourly 50. And then just remember, I keep talking about these trend lines that I have drawn, that have been working out pretty well so far. And it's going to be interesting. If the market moves up, then we should see the UVXY probably break below that trend line. So we're right there. We're right there. Or if this is really going to get worse, then maybe the UVXY continues to hold this trend line and we actually start breaking out to the upside, So I'm doing the best I can as far as communicating to you guys like what we're looking for and we're looking at, and it's not giving us a whole lot of information, really. So then maybe let's talk about some of the bigger stocks and see what they're doing for us. So Tesla has earnings coming up. That's going to be a crapshoot. So if you guys want to trade that, then be my guest. But in through here, with some of the progress that I'm seeing as far as to the upside, let's see if we can get that moved. There we go. To the upside is we have been having this rising lower wedge. And again, with the 8 and 21, that 8 could cross over the 21 and be bullish. And we have been trying to get past the daily 50. Now, I often say you knock on the door once and the second time you go through. So I would look at this and say, well, it knocked on that door once and let's see if you can go through the next time. Again, if this is going to be bullish. The Moxie indicator here on the hourly chart has been staying over 0. That's bullish. And the 200 has gone from a downtrend to at least flat to maybe up is the next direction. And we've been getting a lot of oscillation here, which is kind of the telltale sign of a either bear flag to where it's going to resolve lower, or a trend change to where maybe it can actually resolve to the upside over the course of time. So again, not too much clarity from here except that it is up for the day. So, given hot CPI numbers, but they're up, I think we got to kind of look at that. That says something. Let's look at Apple, see what it's doing. Let me kind of zoom in here. So Apple, you can see there's an elf shoe, leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot, got that elf toe. And kind of like what I was talking about with Tesla, you got to knock on that door the first time, maybe pull back, and then you see if you can go through the second time. We do have the 8 over the 21, and we have price testing the 21. So if that holds, then it should be bullish, generally that bullish direction. As far as this pullback, not too surprised. Look at that gap. Look at that gap between price and the hourly 50. So now the fact that it's come back down and tested it, the Moxie indicator is pretty high above 0. So that should be good. And we'll have to just give this thing time and see if it's going to continue to resolve to the upside. Again, we don't know how far, but we'll see what it can do. Google with their stock split. I think, was the stock split run? Was this it? Was that the run? I don't know. But there's a pretty steep pullback. I made a couple of Twitter posts pointing out that the hourly 50 and the hourly 200 were at the same level that the daily 50 and the daily 21 were at. Might be an area of support. I also made some posts to the Moxie group saying, well, if you guys think that things are going to go up because of CPI, then generally speaking, right about here would be a decent place to start adding to a position. Well, the market went down, so it continued down. That was your roll of the dice if you wanted to go in before the CPI news. Moxie indicator is about to cross over 0, not quite there yet, but we do see price trying to make progress past the daily 50. The 8 is over the 21. The daily 50 is starting to flatten out a little bit. We can see the 200 is trying to turn up a little bit, and we do have the 50 trying to get over the 200. So again, it seems like it's trying to make progress. It's been a whole lot of chop. And in order for something like this, in order for me to really want to buy it, I want to see price get back over the 15-minute 50, just kind of like we did back here, and it's not quite there yet. So once again, we are often all over the place on these things. Seems as though we're trying to work our way up, but this could just be one giant bear flag. So we're doing the best we can, but as you guys can see, look at what the market is providing us, and unless you are a trader here, a channel trader, it's been tough. So just find your little opportunities, take them, and when you get wins, cash them in, because this market will turn on you and make you right and wrong in the same day. All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to be calling it for that. That was our little 30-minute session. And remember, if you guys have any questions, I know we got people out there who are always kind of new, circling into simpler trading. You come over here, profitpilot.com. This is where you can just find out more information about me and where I put some stuff out. And other than that, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you in the free trading room for the next couple days when I'm in there. And other than that, enjoy the market. Catch you guys later.